The grid is formed, ready for the first race of the weekend for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe in glorious, perhaps unusual Spa-like weather. The sun has been shining all weekend. We've had a little bit of rain, but still, even though today is cooler than it has been for the last couple of days, it is baking hot, and drivers then strapped into cars are good to go, ready for the first of these two 50-minute Lamborghini Super Trofeo races with, as ever, the mandatory pit stops with driver changes for some cars. Not all, because it's not a requirement that you have a driver change, but it is an option. But everybody has to make a pit stop. The pit window between 20 and 30 minutes is normal. It is a 60-second stop if you are a double driver entry. 63 seconds is the stop time if you are on your own. And the man on pole position is Vito Postiglione, strapped into the car run by the Imperiale Racing team. He shares with Kiko Galbiati. They lead the Pro Championship at the moment. They've had 2 race wins between the pair, and perhaps in a sense it's a surprise they've not had more, because these two, both very accomplished drivers, you might have anticipated to be the benchmark combination this year. However, wins have gone the way of Karol Bash, who was with Vito Postiglione last year, sharing with Bartosz Pazdiewski. Also a win at Silverstone to the 2 Brits, Jack Bartholomew and Stuart Middleton. They are 4th in the championship, those two, but a double win for Danny Cruz and Sergei Afanasiev. As you look down on the grid, they were victorious, those two, in the last 2 races at Zandvoort. Good news for Danny Cruz, because he's a Dutch driver, and there is the other Imperiale Racing car in the hands of Karol Bash. He will go first. So you've got the 2 green cars from the same squad lining up alongside one another on the front row of the grid. Vito Postiglione, the man on pole position. It's a rolling start, of course, for Super Trofeo. Karol Bash on the outside of that front row of the grid. And then on the second row, Danny Cruz will go first for Bonaldi, and Jack Bartholomew in the other Bonaldi car on the grid to line up alongside. So that's the first couple of rows, and the pit window between 20 and 30 minutes is when there will, of course, be some shuffling of the order, and of course there will be drama during the course of this race. The entry perhaps not as large this year as last in Super Trofeo, but even so, it's a high-quality entry, no mistaking that. And Vito Postiglione determined to try to take the championship this year. Jack Bartholomew there, the British driver, goes first in number 32, this car that won at Silverstone, sharing with Stuart Middleton, who was the runner-up in Ginetta Junior. He won the British GT4 class in the British GT Championship a couple of seasons ago for HHC Motorsport. Jack Bartholomew, Middle East Lamborghini Super Trofeo champion. He's also raced in the Asian Series before this year, concentrating his attack on the European Series. And there, looking further down the grid, is number 3 of Danny Cruz. That car second in the Pro Cup within the championship. There's Pro, there's Pro-Am, there is Am and Lamborghini Cup. And the point system rewarding those, no matter where you finish, everyone has something to aim for. Right, engines fire up very shortly. The cars are going to be released onto this formation lap. They're number 30 in the hands of, now it says, Niels Lagrange. The qualifying time was posted, allegedly, by Anthony Lambert. So there's a question mark over that car. So Anthony Lambert was provisionally shown as the qualifying driver. The other one that's got a question mark over it, Jake Rattenbury, was listed as having done the time, but Mikko Eskelinen is in that car. And I think what has happened is that the timing screen has purely listed the first driver on the entry list rather than the start driver, but we'll double check some of these. Joseph Zaruba lines up next on the grid for the Michenek Motorsport ACCR team. There is the Lamborghini Urus at the very front that will lead them away shortly onto this pace lap. And then the race director will give the indication that we can get business underway. At the very back is Kurt Wagner going first in this car that he shares with Libor Vacek. And for 50 minutes of racing will be underway pretty shortly. Grid is cleared, so the drivers are ready to go. At the 1 minute board, engines will fire up, the grid will be cleared, and then we will be in business for this first of the 2 races. Unusually this year, the championship hasn't followed religiously the Endurance Cup of Block Pan. It's been to a couple of sprint events, so they've done Silverstone, then Misano and Zandvoort. And there Filip Sledecka, ready to go for the Sledecka Motorsport team. He and Samuel Sledecka, the two drivers there, in car number 69. Rather some newcomers to the championship. So let's have a quick look at the grid then. Vito Postiglione starting on pole position with Karol Bash to line up alongside the two green Imperiali racing cars ahead of Danny Cruz and Jack Bartholomew on the second row of the grid. Row 3, Josef Zaruba and the Leipert car of Niels Lagrange and Anthony Lambert, with Filip Sledecka and Luca Demaci on row 4. Row 5 is the Mikko Eskelinen and Jake Rattenbury car lining up alongside Nicholas Gomar. Then you've got Shota Abkazova and Robert Svinger ahead of Davide Vanditti and Gregor Marchulski. Next comes Francois Semoulin and Antonios Vossos ahead of Thomas Padovani and Oliver Freimut. Gerard van der Horst shares the next row with Jose Collado. Then you've got Hans Fabry and Supachai Wiraborwampong, and Kurt Wagner is on the 12th row of the grid on his own. So that is how they line up. The grid's set to go. And as soon as the race director is happy, he will give the signal to release the cars, and then we will be, as I say, in business for this first of the two races. The championship leaders in Pro, the car on pole position, that of Vito Postiglione, Kiko Galbiati, its drivers, in the Pro-Am competition at the moment. The championship there being led by Shota Abkazova and Harold Schlegelmilch, who is absent this weekend. So Abkazova has Julien Falchereau, quick young French driver, as his co-driver for this weekend. Then in the Am Cup, it is the Semoulins who are the championship leaders there. Cars now accelerate away onto this parade lap. It's father and son. Francois is dad, Benoit is the son. They are the Am leaders. And the Lamborghini Cup, sorry, that is the Lamborghini Cup, forgive me, the Am is the one I've missed out. Nicolas Gomar is the championship leader there. Nicolas Gomar heads the amateur contest for the purposes of the first 6 races of the year. There's the Nürburgring to come, and then the Lamborghini World Finals at Jerez at the end of the season. So the cars now on the run up towards Les Combes, and the Lamborghini Urus, the lead car, will bail at the end of this lap. Then we'll be underway, and what you have on the screen is the overall standings for everybody, irrespective of class. So now they come up towards the right-hander in the middle of the Camel Straight, up through Les Combes. So you go right, left, right again, flick through down to Bruxelles, over the brow, and then plunge downhill. Through there goes number 30, which is the Niels Lagrange Anthony Lambert car. Still being shown as Lagrange behind the wheel a bit, but as I say, Anthony Lambert was credited with a qualifying time for this session, so in theory it should therefore be him that will start the car. Over the brow, down through Bruxelles, these Huracan Evos, and 23 cars we have. Vito Postiglione, massively experienced driver, the man on pole position. He's raced for many, many seasons across one-make saloon car racing, in Italian GT racing, in the World Touring Car Championship, and for the last couple of years has been one of the front runners in Super Trofeo Europe, but at the last has been denied success. So he's absolutely determined this year to try to fight back. He drove on his own 3 seasons ago. Then he had last year Karol Bash as his co-driver. The year before that, it was Jonathan Cecotto. But on each occasion, he lost out towards the end of the season. So with Kiko Galbiati, who arrived on the scene at the World Finals at Valencia 3 years back and was an instant gun, they should be pretty hard to beat, and indeed they do lead the championship thus far, but perhaps more wins are to come. Certainly they've not had as many as people anticipated pre-season. Vito Postiglione and Kiko Galbiati only a point ahead of Sergei Afanasiev and Danny Cruz within the championship standings. So the cars now accelerate down the hill, heading to campus, past the college, and then the run up through the Cours Paul Frere, ready to get this race underway. So Vito Postiglione for pole position will control the pace. Once they get up towards the bus stop, they'll weave around from the Lambert Lagrange car, getting some warmth into the Pirelli tyres on which everybody runs. And the class battles in the Pro-Am competition, although the championship there is being led by Shota Abkazova. On the grid, you've got the car of Mikko Eskelinen, well worth keeping an eye to, and Robert Svinger also will be one to watch. So right the way through the grid. There's going to be some fierce fighting. Number 12 is the Artline Team Georgia car of Abkhazova and Julien Falchereau. That's, as I say, in Pro-Am, where, thanks to the efforts of Abkhazova and Harold Schlegelmilch, Shota Abkhazova, the Georgian driver, finds himself as a championship leader. Now they get themselves into the 2x2 Noah's Ark style formation, ready for the rolling start up towards the chicane, the so-called bus stop chicane they come. And Vito Posiglione then on the inside line, the two green Imperiale racing cars as one pretty much. And Vito, having raced with Karol Bash last year, sharing a car, now goes toe-to-toe with him. Vito Posiglione sprints ahead as they come up towards the bus stop, whereas Karol Bash does not. So it's going to look rather untidy. If the race director is happy, then the cars will be released. Through the bus stop they come, and Posiglione looks as though he's ahead of everybody else. Now Karol Bash accelerates up to be alongside him. The lights on the gantry red at the moment go green. The race then underway. A demon start from the second row of the grid there by Danny Cruz, and Posiglione has a problem because the car doesn't exactly storm away as they go up towards La Source. So he gets jumped not only by the car from the second row, but by about half the grid as well, almost like it went into limp home mode. It means that Karol Bash will lead the way and others run out wide coming out of La Source for the first time. Downhill, nose to tail then, the top two. It's Karol Bash just ahead of Danny Cruz as they drop down towards Eau Rouge. And now, assuming the car is healthy and can play, Vito Posiglione has got a lot of work to do as they make the climb uphill for the first time on towards Radion. So Posiglione jumped at the start. What can he do? What can his co-driver do over the course of 50 minutes to fight back then? So Posiglione and Kiko Galbiati now with work to do as Bash leads the way. Then in second place is Cruz as they come up towards the Les Combes sequence for the first time. And as they blast their way up through the corner, Posiglione with work to do. Meantime, in 26, the car of Lambert and Lagrange, that is hustling on lower down the order into Bruxelles. They come for the first time. Then over the brow and now swing through that long right hander that loops you downhill on towards the left at Speaker's Corner. 67 going through there, the GT3 Poland car. That's the Luca Damarchi JM Littmann entry that was on the fourth row of the grid, and so they drop now down towards Pouhon for the first time. But Karol Bash making good his escape here as they turn downhill through that long left-hander. There is Posiglione. Now the car looks okay. Whatever its problem was at the start, thankfully it looks like he's been able to sort out, but that has dropped him down the order and given him a lot of work to do. So the cars flick through the piff-paff, drop down now towards campus. It is Karol Bash not only leading, but getting away now from Danny Cruz in second place. Stuart Middleton also running in the pack. That car up, oh sorry, Jack Bartholomew's car I should say, that car up from fourth on the grid, goes through, and Karol Bash trying to make good his escape over everybody else now, and he is doing so as they come for the first time through Blanchimont. Way wide all over the curb there. And now the challenge is made by Lambert up on the inside line as they brake hard for the bus stop. Does he go through? Yes, he does. So a good move that. Anthony Lambert goes through on the inside line, picks up a spot, and so at the end of that one, Karol Bash it is that leads the way from Danny Cruz up into third place, Josef Zaruba. Fourth, it is Jack Bartholomew. In fifth place, Philip Schladecka, and then sixth is Lambert as they go into the source, and a big whack there. That was Postiglione getting up the inside of Lambert. Lambert is forced out wide. You could hear the rattle, and Postiglione then recovers. Lambert forced way out wide. He's clearly got problems. And now, in fact, Postiglione's car shows the damage. That slows right down as well. They drop down the hill. But Postiglione is effectively out of the race now. So that car with big damage. The rest of the order goes through. And so at the end of lap one, it was Bash from Cruz from Zaruba, former Radical and Formula Renault racer. Middleton's car with Jack Bartholomew at the wheel, fourth, fifth, Schladecka. Here's the replay. Up the inside goes Postiglione, and Lambert turns in. They were absolutely alongside one another, and that, I fear, has broken suspension parts. Let's see how it looked from on board with Lambert. I don't think he knew that Postiglione was there because he turned in oblivious and suddenly, bang, and that would have done damage to both cars. And there you can see the damage. It's a crab-like Vito Postiglione, so the race going from bad to worse. Not only was there the problem at the start, but now that very hefty side impact has done him a power of no good as the car heads down through Pouhon, but he's as good as out of the race. So Karol Bash making good his escape. Now they've only had one win this year, Bash and Bartosz Paziewski, who's come from the Benelux Clio series and last year the Audi TT Cup. They're going through in 99 is Robert Svinga. That's a car that runs within the AM class. Svinga, the Slovakian driver, a soloist. And a 50-minute race, don't forget. So 5 minutes in, Bash leading by a second and a half at the end of the opening lap, and he's making good his escape all the time here. Another one very, very wide in the background, all over the grass, going through the Cours Paul Frere, just about surviving. And the incident down at La Source under investigation, that between Lambert and Postiglione. What can be done about it? Clearly nothing, but it's going to be looked at to see if anyone was at fault. So Karol Bash leads the way, but actually now Danny Cruz in second place has done the fastest lap of the race at 2:22 and brought the gap down to, from a second and a half, 11 tenths. In third place it is still Josef Zaruba. Jack Bartholomew runs fourth ahead of Filip Sladecka. Jake Rattenbury now up into sixth place, and Jake Rattenbury is a class leader for the Lippert team. That means that he and Mikko Escalanen are heading the AMS, and that also means they're ahead of the Pro-AMS, because the Luca Damarchi JM Littmann car has fallen back behind them. Damarchi at the wheel of it. 8th is Nico Gomar, second of the AMS. 9th is Abkazova, second of the Pro-AMS, and 10th is Svinga, third of the AMS. There are the leaders, starting a little bit to bunch up there as they go up through Les Combes this time. Josef Zaruba still hard at work, and Danny Cruz is on a mission. He might not have had the best first lap, perhaps just getting everything up to temperature, but he's pushing hard now as they're way wide over the grass. Goes Zaruba, the car unsettled, he gets away with that, but only just. The gap is coming down between the leaders, no question about it. Bash and Cruz, 11 tenths is the margin. So through they turn. There you've got the car of Karol Bash in the lead. Replay of the start where Postiglione's car just does not get away. Everybody else swarms around him, and that drops Postiglione down to round about 8th or 9th place, if not worse. The fight back began as soon as possible. This is how Anthony Lambert saw the start. Postiglione to the right just did not go anywhere. Staggered away from the line, and that gave Karol Bash the advantage as the cars dropped downhill. No further action is being taken despite the incident between Postiglione and Lambert. So they've had a look, decided that there's no case to answer, and so Postiglione is out of the race, and Anthony Lambert actually has carried on in 11th place. So he's dropped down the order, clearly, but still going. Postiglione has made a pit stop, and I think it might have rejoined, so we'll keep an eye to that, but I'd be surprised if it says pit out, I'd be surprised if he's rejoined because of the damage sustained. However, there is the battle for the race lead. Karol Bash ahead of Danny Cruz as they come through. The margin is still 11 tenths of a second. Through they come with Josef Zaruba third. He's dropped back as a result of his grassy moment up at Les Combes. In fourth place, Jack Bartholomew, not being able to match the pace of those ahead in the Bonaldi car. And then fifth, Filip Sladecka coming back at him. So that gap's coming down and down and down. Number 64 going into the bus stop chicane is Antonios Vossos, the Greek driver. And Vossos has got Thomas Padovani up behind him as they come now up over the timing line to put, for them, 3 laps in the book. '77 going through. That is the Padovani car. Stephen Licorice, the British driver, former Mini racer, former Porsche racer, will take that car over for the next stint. There is Jack Bartholomew. Now Filip Sladecka going after him, so is that gap going to come down before the pit window opens to give Sladecka a chance of going through? Let's see. The next gaggle, Jake Rattenbury, experienced British peddler, keeping Damarchi at bay. Then it's Gomar from Abkazova. There is Nico Gomar, number 89, as he turns now up through the Les Combes sequence. Very experienced Lamborghini Super Trofeo racer is Nicolas Gomar. Down through Bruxelles they turn. And now on towards Pouhon. So, battle is on. Creeping up onto the back of Gomar is Abkazova. They're running in different classes, don't forget. AM ahead of Pro-Am, but Abkazova wants, as better a place as he can get overall as well. He'll hand the car over, of course, to Julien Falchero. Is he going to be able to make a move against the man ahead of him, Nico Gomar, experienced Lamborghini racer, as they come into the pif-paf? The answer is no, not this time. The AGS Events car of Nico Gomar, the 40-year-old Frenchman, hangs onto the place as they come through now. Swing through the Courbe Paul Frere on this lap number 4, and power building all the time here. So Carol Bash up front, and the team manager of Vito Postiglione's car has to go to race control immediately. Now, there was no further action as far as the incident was concerned, but now the team manager of car 44 is having to go to the race director immediately. Interesting. There's 89, Nico Gomar then, still chasing after the Jake Rattenbury, Mikko Eskelinen car for class honours, but he's not yet there, not getting onto the tail. Up front, Carol Bash continues to lead the way, the 27-year-old Polish driver. Clear by only half a second. The gap is coming down. Bash to Danny Cruz. Josef Zaruba next up, and there is a challenge being made on the inside line. Going through is Davide Venditti at the expense of Robert Zwinger. So Venditti goes through. He's another that runs in the pro category. Venditti, who's been a Formula 4 racer in the Italian Championship before moving to GT cars. There's the lead, and it is coming right down that gap between Carol Bash and Danny Cruz. Josef Zaruba running third, but dropping away a little bit now as the cars come out of Les Combes over the brow, down towards Bruxelles once again here. So the lead battle well and truly joined here. Danny Cruz inching up onto the back of Carol Bash. Danny Cruz, who came from the SMP North European Zone Formula 4 series and the Spanish Formula 4 series. He's raced TCR-type touring cars. He's raced in the Dutch Supercar Challenge, so he's had a taste, certainly, of big, powerful race cars before coming into the championship this year. He's one of the rookies on the grid, Danny Cruz, but a double winner already and on home soil at Zandvoort. Great news, and he could be a Benelux winner again here as he goes through the pif-paf, because he ain't that far behind Carol Bash. He gives the car in the second stint to the very rapid Russian driver Sergei Afanasiev, who's raced single-seaters and GT cars for many, many seasons now. So 2 evenly matched cars at the moment, but then Afanasiev against Bartosz Paziewski for the race lead will be interesting in the second stint. We are only about 8 minutes off the pit window opening as well, as the cars blast their way now up through the long, long left of the Courbe Paul Frere, and then on towards Blanchimont. Wide over the curb go the 2 race leaders there, no question. Carol Bash still clearing the race lead, but only just. Cruz inching up onto the back of him, and the braking for the bus stop. Does he wash out a little bit? No, he gets away with that. All good. And the gap potentially down a fraction further as they come now towards the timing line. 38 minutes are on the clock. The gap was half a second. They'll break the beam now, and that gap is up fractionally, 0.6. Going through Eau Rouge, race leader Carol Bash, and on that last lap then, not as quick as he would like to have been, but he has stretched the margin a little further. He's certainly slower than his earlier best lap, but Carol Bash continues to hustle on, trying to build the advantage in this opening stint of the race. Cruz runs second, Zaruba is third as they come up now towards the Les Combes sequence. And a big, big slide there. Carol Bash flings the car through Les Combes. He saved the slide, but is that going to do him any good in the long run? He was fractionally quicker within the first sector. Maybe all that speed carried through Les Combes. That's why he got crossed up. He's held the slide, but he won't have done the tyres too much good, as there behind him is Danny Cruz. The gap comes down again between the pair now. Look as they drop down the hill again. Here's a replay. Power on. Just glanced the curb. That unsettled the car. But it was a good catch, that, by Carol Bash, and he managed to hang on to not only the car, but the race lead as well. Into the pif-paf. Danny Cruz inching up onto the tail of the leader. Now, he lost out in the first sector, but he looks a little bit nearer. And actually, Josef Zaruba can't be discounted yet either, because he's almost with them in third place. Zaruba, who has raced not only in Radicals, but Formula Renault and GT4 before coming into Lamborghini Super Trofeo. So he's done quite a bit of racing of all types. Pretty versatile young driver. Jakob Knoll will share the car with him, who you can trace back to Lamborghini racing something like 8 years ago. Leaders go through then. The top three last time covered by just over 2 seconds. And is Zaruba going to get onto the tail of Cruz? Again, way wide goes Karol Bash. Now, won't be long, surely, before the race officials start to shout about track limits because of this. Second lap in a row, both of them are doing it. Cruz closing up a little bit under braking, but he's so late on the brakes, the car's in danger of washing out wide. Up towards the timing line they come. They're going to get 2, maybe 3 laps in before they need to think about pitting. Over the line goes Bash, over the line goes Cruz, over the line goes Zaruba, and a second and a half now covering the top 3. They're all lapping in the 2:24s now, and of the 3, Zaruba in 3rd place is the quicker. They drop downhill past the old Coca-Cola tower as it used to be, past the endurance pits, the heritage pits, and now into Eau Rouge itself. Bash leading by only half a second from Cruz there in 2nd place. Zaruba shouting, "Wait for me," doing his level best to get onto terms with them. He runs in 3rd spot now. Danny Cruz goes through, out of Les Combes, the right, the left, the right again. Over the brow, he will turn in a moment then to Bruxelles. Youssef Zaruba inching up behind them. 4 minutes and change now before the pit window opens. And the race leader, Karol Bash, continues to maintain this advantage. Dropping down the hill again now towards Pouhon. Now, question, is Danny Cruz absolutely flat chat here in his quest to get past Bash, or is he quite content to let Afanasiev do the hard yards in the 2nd stint? He's kept the car in the mix, he's kept it right there on the tail of the leader. Perhaps he's looking after the rubber, he's not overly stressed the tyres because he's not been pitching left and right to try to get the race lead. He's done a good, solid first stint, maintaining the margin just within the second of Karol Bash for the race lead. Bash is the one that's having to soak up all the pressure, so battle on between those two, yes, but Danny Cruz looking after the machinery, and Afanasiev for the 2nd stint should, I would have thought, be the man to beat. Way wide, having said he's looking after the machinery, goes Danny Cruz. So he gets it all wrong going out of the extension of the campus corner into Paul Frere's corner, and as a consequence, the gap will have opened up by more tenths at the end of the lap. So it was half a second, it could be well over a second, but again, look how wide they all run. Now, either that, in the race director's opinion, is all perfectly acceptable, or imminently we're going to hear track limit warnings, because lap after lap after lap, they are all way wide. Now, that's way wide as well, coming towards the Courbe Paul Frere. Danny Cruz just gets it wrong, runs out over the tarmac, and at the end of the lap, he's fallen back by 3/10, and he's being warned about track limits. Well, okay, yes, he did go wide at the Courbe Paul Frere, but what about Blanchimont and also the race leader Karol Bash? So it looks as though Blanchimont is fine, but going wide anywhere else does start to incur the wrath of the officialdom. It's just under 3 minutes now before the pit window opens, as down the hill once again comes Bash, the race leader. 8/10 up he is now. So Karol Bash, the race leader, continues to hold sway. Youssef Zaruba there in 3rd spot. Jakob Knoll, who's an experienced GT driver, will take the car over. So it's going to be an interesting second part of the race, this, with, of course, different drivers in those cars. Stuart Middleton will take over the 4th place car just in the background there from Jack Bartholomew. But that car's now 4 seconds adrift of the 3rd placed car there of Youssef Zaruba. So it's going to give Stuart Middleton, who's a very quick British driver, a fair amount of work to do. Jack Bartholomew, former British F4 racer, the MSV F4 category, comes down out of Speaker's corner, but not being able to stay with the top 3, markedly dropping back now. Lower down, we've got José Calada having just gained a place from Gerard van der Horst. They both run in the Lamborghini Cup section of the race, and after the contact, persevering Anthony Lambert, but he's down in 12th place. That's the leader then. So one of the Imperiale racing cars out of the race, the Postiglione entry. Karol Bash, though, is the race leader, and yet again, Postiglione, as you get to the midpoint of the season, starts to have bad luck. That's going to be his first non-score of the season. They didn't do great in the last race at Zandvoort, but at least they got points. But here, huge disappointment to be out of the race after just 2 laps, Vito Postiglione. There are the leaders into Blanchimont now. Again, look, right over the curb go the top 2. And also now being warned about track limits at Blanchimont is Danny Cruz. But Carol Bash is doing exactly the same thing, and he's not being warned about it, strangely. Up towards the line, the pit window will be open for them at the end of this next lap. And look how the gap has come right down. Danny Cruz much closer now to Carol Bash, perhaps having one last go here before he has to pit. 3/10 now the margin. That's the narrowest it's been all race. Josef Zaruba still right with them in 3rd place. So it's 1.3 seconds now covering the top 3 as the teams get ready. That's the Imperiali Racing squad. And you just saw there Bartosz Pawliewski set ready to go. Up through Eau Rouge, there is Cruz on the limit. Just ahead of him is Carol Bash, trying oh so hard here. Is there going to be a chance possibly to dive up the inside as they come towards Les Combes? Danny Cruz inching up onto the back. In a single-seater, you can get a tow at this part of the circuit. It's a little bit different in a GT Lamborghini, but the gap is down again, and Josef Zaruba also benefiting a touch there because he too is quicker in Sector 1 than Danny Cruz. There is Zaruba out of the Les Combes sequence. Now, for the back markers, as it were, pit window is open. You can make a stop. And who is going to be the first one in? There, look, number 21, which is Gregor Moczulski, to give way to Andrzej Lewandowski. So Moczulski is in. Nice little battle going on here. Look, number 67 is Luca De Marchi, right on the back of Jake Rattenbury. The two of them only 3/10 apart at the start of the lap. Rattenbury, number 33, hanging on to his Am Cup lead as they drop down to Bruxelles. Through that right, he goes wide. Here are the race leaders. Bash just ahead of Cruz, just ahead of Zaruba. So it was 1.3 seconds covering them at the start of this lap. It's game on, isn't it? Zaruba is on a mission here. Through they turn, and there does Carol Bash go a little bit wide into Campus. The car just seemed to miss its apex slightly. Hubert Fabry is in to give way. So, sorry, Hans Fabry is in. And the pit stop cycles through. Superchai Wirabor Wampong in as well. And the Gregor Moczulski car we'd seen come down the pit lane to give way to Andrzej Lewandowski. Right, are the leaders going to bail this time? We've had Abkazova get ahead of Venditti. Nico Gomar has fallen back into 10th place in another shuffle. Down to the bus stop chicane comes the race leader. Does Carol Bash make a move to the pit lane? No, nor does Cruz, nor does Zaruba. So the top 3 stays out over the line. There in comes Jack Bartholomew. So he will now hand that car over to Stuart Middleton. And Middleton's going to be well worth watching to see what he can do to drag the car back into contention. There are the leaders coming out of La Source, ready to drop down the hill now. Super Trofeo Europe here running as part of this busy programme at the Total 24 Hours of Spa. Past the endurance pit, down towards Eau Rouge. The gap has stretched a little bit more. It's up to half a second as Carol Bash has another push. We've had a spin coming into Blanchimont. The car recovering without seeming to have any damage, but that's not a place you want to have a spin. I'm trying to identify who it is that's going slowly there, but we'll try and pick that up in a moment when the car heads towards the bus stop. There are the 3 leaders then now up towards the Les Combes sequence, and still Bash, Cruz, Zaruba is the order. More pit stops. Abkazova is in, Venditti is in, Lambert is in. And there is the replay of the spinning car, which I think was the Luca De Marchi. Yes, it was, GT3 Poland car. De Marchi from the 4th row of the grid. So Luca De Marchi had been dropping back, and now I'm afraid he's had that spin that further compounds the woes. So through goes number 8, Carol Bash. Still the race leader, still half a second to the good. Turns now out of the Campus right-hander through the Cours Paul Frere. So no shuffle in the order, but these elasticated gaps, and again wide goes Cruz. Well, he's been warned already about exceeding track limits there. Skips back onto the road. Also being warned about track limit abuse now are Davide Venditti, Jose Collado and Nico Gomar. But Carol Bash, who again, for my money, seems to go way, way wide over the track limits at Blanchimont, gets away unscathed. Into the bus stop he comes. Bash arrives very quickly, scrabbles into the bus stop, stays out for another lap. So does Danny Cruz. So does Josef Zaruba. So they're going a long way within the stint here. They're midway, if you like, through the pit window now. And it also means that they are giving their co-drivers less chance behind the wheel. Afanasiev there would take over the second place car, Jakob Noll the third. They, I would have thought, would be worth putting in for as long as possible. Karol Bash probably is quicker because he's more experienced of the car than Bartosz Pawliecki. But right now, Bash stays out there. So Karol Bash, the young Polish driver, came into car racing from karts last year through Italian GT and Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. He holds sway. The fastest lap of the race, incidentally, done by Danny Cruz, a 2:22.8 from earlier on. And the gap last time around was 0.7 of a second between the two race leaders. Into Bruxelles goes Karol Bash. And there, a pit stop for number 69. So this is Filip Sledecka to give way to Samuel. Samuel Sledecka takes the car over, and the pit stop times, if you are a double driver entry, 60 seconds, 63 if you're a soloist, because you do have a benefit because you know what the car is like, you know what the track conditions are like, so there's always a slight difference between the two and the one driver entry pit stop times, just to try to equate that. There is Karol Bash still being hustled along by Danny Cruz behind him in second spot. 24 minutes of the race remain. And once again, down towards the right-hander of Campos they turn. Cruz a little bit nearer on the brakes there. Now the next question is, will he run wide here, coming up towards the next right-hander? He's done it before, looks better this time, but he's up the curb. Yep, that's fine. So it's a good line, good run through the corner. Danny Cruz now charging on behind Karol Bash. They're coming to Blanchimont. Do they think about a pit stop this time? Bash from Cruz, from Zaruba. That's the order. Wide out of Blanchimont. Zaruba is probably the best in terms of obeying what the racing line is coming through Blanchimont, and he's dropping back as a result. Karol Bash for the pit lane, possibly. No, thought about it, but elects to stay out, and Danny Cruz is even nearer to him. So they're going to have to come in at the end of this lap, I would have thought, to be on the safe side. Over the timing line, they will go to put 11 in the book. Bash leading the way still. The margin 0.6 of a second from in second place Danny Cruz. The gap is down again under braking for La Source. Cruz onto the back of the race leader as they head down the hill. Josef Zaruba in third spot now. Jose Collado just going out of La Source. And then the rest of the field all cycling through. Some, of course, out of sequence now because they've been making pit stops. 33 goes through. Jake Rattenbury. Now that's a car running up in fourth place overall, yet to pit. Where did Stuart Middleton fall to? He's 11th currently after taking over from Jack Bartholomew. So Rattenbury leading the AM Cup, goes down the hill, class leader, fourth overall. Mikko Escalanen will take that car over, the very experienced Finn, but he's not as quick as is Jake Rattenbury. There is Danny Cruz going down towards Bruxelles. He's not dropped back from Karol Bash, but he's certainly not near enough to think about making a move this time. Through they turn. Karol Bash remains the leader, of course. Josef Zaruba has fallen away again, has he not? So these elasticated gaps I talked about earlier on, still prevalent. The margin extending to over a second now between Cruz second and Zaruba in third place. So how is all this going to pan out when we get to the pit stops? Who's going to gain? These are all double driver entries, so they should all make, of course, that 60-second stop. 1 minute, so inevitably you're going to lose a big chunk of track time. Zaruba, a little bit ragged there, going through the piff-paff, found the dirty, dusty line, so that compromised the run a little. And down towards Campos now comes Danny Cruz once more. He's closing up. So Cruz, quick karter, quick single-seater racer, now very quick Lamborghini racer, powers his way up through the long, long right of the Cours Paul Frère to the long, long left of Blanchimont. turns in now. And his Bash for the pit lane, his Cruz for the pit lane. They can't do another lap, the window will be shut, so they've got to be in now. They've got to come in this time, and Karel Bash goes wide into the bus stop, has to cut across and regroup. So in they come, and down the pit lane, it is Karel Bash, Danny Cruz, Josef Zaruba, the top three. Let's see what the order's going to be on the other side of the pit stops, and how close also the car of Stuart Middleton can get, because he charges along in effectively the lead of those that have stopped now, but we'll see where that's going to put him into the real order come the end of this lap. So down the hill comes Stuart Middleton, number 32, this Bonaldi car. Stuart moving from international or European GT4 racing into Lamborghini Super Trofeo with Jack Bartholomew this year. There, Karel Bash gives way to Bartosz Paziewski. So the Pro Cup car arrived at the disco by the sound of it. Number 66 is in for Jakob Noll to take over from Josef Zaruba. The blower on the front just to try to keep the car cool. And we've got a car under investigation for its pit stop. It's number 12 of Julian Falchero and Shota Abkhazova. That's interesting because they, of course, certainly Abkhazova, well placed within the championship in Pro-Am. Now their pit stop time should have been should have been a minute. All seemed good looking at the time that they were given. Away goes the top three, and look, Jakob Noll is ahead now of Afanasiev, and they are both ahead of Bartosz Paziewski. Now, what does that prove? Who has made a good pit stop? Who has made a bad pit stop? Some might be under, and a penalty might come. Others might just have been slow. So let's try and see when they get to pit out what the times are for these cars. They accelerate down the hill, back into the race, and the new order then is Jakob Noll ahead. Second is Sergio Afanasiev, and third is Paziewski. So Paziewski's pit time was 90.8 seconds. Afanasiev a minute 29.4, and there, look, right up with them is Stuart Middleton, and this now is effectively for the race lead. Middleton gets onto the back of Knoll as they head up the hill. Jakob Knoll just hanging on to the advantage. Middleton goes one side and then the other, goes around the outside into Lecombe. Up the inside, yes, he's done it. Up the inside for third goes Paziewski, but Stuart Middleton it is that takes over the race lead, already into his stride, already in the groove, knowing exactly what the car is capable of, what it feels like. Stuart Middleton then up into the race lead. It was a good pit stop from that team, and Stuart Middleton then now is ahead. So Middleton leads, Knoll second, down to third, Danny Cruz down to fourth, Bartosz Paziewski having led early on. So Jack Bartholomew may have lost time early on in the race, but Stuart Middleton now very much in the races and getting himself through the traffic leads. And look, he's getting away as the others try and play themselves in. He's up front and storming clear of the opposition. Danny Cruz second, back into third place then now is Jakob Knoll. And up the inside goes a hard-charging Paziewski. Has not got a problem because Jakob Knoll's car losing places, losing ground. They just put another lap then on 22, the Wagner now Dvorak car, but something's not right there. The way that 66 Jakob Knoll has dropped back, and Stuart Middleton, with a great first few laps in his stint, takes over the lead of the race and has built the advantage early on here. We're getting a drive-through penalty for number 12, Julian Falchero. The pit stop time was okay, but he was speeding in the pit lane. So number 12 gets a drive-through for speeding in the pits. And here, out of Blanchimont, comes the new race order. So Bonaldi, having qualified fourth, Jack Bartholomew's time, Stuart Middleton is now the race leader. Out of the chicane, over the timing line. And what's Middleton's advantage then as he breaks the beam? Heads to La Source, 2 seconds clear of Afanasiev. Their third, Bartosz Paziewski, and Jakob Knoll dropping down the order. So the race leader currently on lap number 14. We've got just over 16.5 minutes to go. Now, can Sergio Afanasiev do anything about Stuart Middleton? Middleton's already into a stint. This is really the first full flying lap for Afanasiev, so now we'll start to see what he's capable of. And there is the gap he's going to try and bring down. 2.2 seconds. Pazievski in third in the car that led early on, dropping away after a not as good pit stop as from the other teams, effectively. And then fourth, Jakob Noll, likewise falling away now in the Michenek Motorsport ACCR car. There it is, in fourth rather place now. And behind is the sister car that's been lapped, currently in the hands of Libor Dvoracek. So we've got this drive-through penalty for Julien Falchereau that needs to be observed. And the cars turn their way down through Pouhon for the 14th time. Now what, having said, can Afanasiev do about Middleton? What about Pazievski versus Afanasiev for second place? That gap is actually less, 1.9 seconds, although it must be said, Pazievski's lost a big chunk of time in the first sector of this lap. There's a white flag being shown there, meaning there's a very slow car up the road. And there it is, keeping out of the way. So one in strife. That could be Weeraboorwampong who's got a problem. The Thai driver, Supichai Weeraboorwampong, crawling out of campus, keeping out of everybody's way. Supichai, who's been a class winner in the Asian series, double Lamborghini Cup champion in the Asian Championship. Great to have him racing in Europe. But why is the car slow? Is that mechanical or has he clobbered something? It's run by MTech, Mike Edmonds' team, that car. But Supichai Weeraboorwampong limps on. There is Stuart Middleton into the chicane, and is the margin going to be any better? We've got more penalties flying, and one of them is number 66, Jakob Noll, in fourth place. He will get a 2.2 second penalty at the end of the race. So it's a pit stop infringement, 2.208 seconds of a penalty at the end of the race. Jakob Noll's car, which was under the pit stop time, gets a penalty. So that is how he was able to get ahead briefly, but then lost out on track in that shuffle at Les Combes. So it's gone from bad to worse, fourth already, and then a penalty. 2 seconds might not affect things much. He's 7 seconds up on Samuel Sladecka, but even so, not great news coming. Alberto De Falco up into 6th place, number 9, taking over from Davide Venditti. He's on a mission as well, but right now Afanasiev dropping away from Stuart Middleton, who's on target, it seems, for a second victory of the season. Julien Falchereau, incidentally, is yet to serve his drive-through penalty, so the race director getting a little bit more grumpy about this, and it's now not just a message on the screen, it's a flashing message to try and alert attention. There, going through, Bartosz Pazievski, still in third spot, still way up the curb, coming out of Les Combes. The gap between him and Afanasiev ahead for second place now, up to 3 seconds, give or take a tenth. And here is how the lead all changed. So it was Jakob Noll that led into Les Combes, round the outside. Brilliant move, this, by Stuart Middleton. Up the inside for third went Pazievski. So it was Middleton from Knoll. Afanasiev managed to get back into his third place, and he stayed there, and that ran wide up the curb, the car of Pazievski. But it wasn't long before Jakob Knoll was on the back foot, losing places as they dropped down the hill. But great racing, and Stuart Middleton being able to go through and secure the place. Right, another penalty comes, 77 it is. That is the Thomas Padovani Stephen Licorice car. That gets a 1.998 second penalty at the end of the race. All this for being slightly under on the pit stop time. Stuart Middleton, though, continues to storm away. And I'm surprised that Afanasiev is not making better progress then in second place. Sergei Afanasiev should be, in theory, with his greater levels of experience, able to take the battle to Middleton, but the gap is widening. Stuart on the limit, coming out of Blanchimont, really pushing hard now. There through is 33. That's the car in the hands now of Mikko Escalainen. Now, Escalainen is a class leader still, maintaining honours in the AM class. Robert Zwinger is the next best AM, and then Gilles Vannelet, who's taken over from Nico Gomar. Vannelet's also doing the 24 hours here this weekend, so he's maximising his track time, that's for sure. Supichai Weeraboorwampong is in, and he's having a new tyre put onto the car. So that was the reason for him going slowly, possibly a puncture. And Weeraboorwampong goes back out again. He's another of those that runs within the Lamborghini Cup. Oh, he doesn't go out again. He stops. So trouble at mill for Supajai Weeraboorwampong as the race leaders there head up towards the end of the first sector. It was 4 seconds, the margin at the start of this 16th lap. And the gap in sector 1, will it have come down? Will it have gone up? The answer is it's gone up by a further 3/10. Middleton is driving away from Afanasiev here. Despite the accident the car had early on in the race, Niels Lagrange, now at the wheel of number 30, is up into 8th place. Remember, it clattered with Postiglione early doors and still charges along. There up the curb is the charging Bartosz Pawliecki, but charge he might, catch he's not. He's losing touch by a 10th here and there in the sectors, and it's all adding up. Of course, it's probably the first time he's raced at Spa, so there's a learning curve going on here. Pawliecki is pushing hard. Belgian fans look on, but for Pawliecki, the Polish driver, he is not catching more experienced Afanasiev. What he is doing is staying ahead of Jakob Knoll, who must have a problem, because remember, Knoll led out of the pit lane and he's now 20 seconds behind Stuart Middleton, who caught and passed him. So there's clearly something not right with the car of the Czech team running in 4th place, and it's losing touch, losing places all the time now. There's a driving standards flag now being shown, first of all for Andrei Lewandowski, also for Gilles Vannelet for disrespecting the track limit. And the leaders go through with 10 minutes remaining, just under. There is Afanasiev. 4.4 seconds the margin. He's 6 seconds up on Pawliecki. And is Jakob Knoll still going to be able to get to the end in 4th place? It's not going to be long, I wouldn't have thought, before Sladecka gets onto terms with him, because he's hacking away at the margin in the sectors. Yes, they go through nose to tail. And here you've got the fight for 4th place. Samuel Sladecka in the silver and yellow car, right on the tail of Knoll. 4th place overall and 4th in the Pro Cup. It's game on. Jakob Knoll, slow, slow, slow in comparison with all of those around him, and he's about to lose the place, surely on the run up towards Les Combes now. Sladecka tries to make the move. Is he going to be able to dive up to the inside line? Not here, he's not. Knoll defends as best he can. But Sladecka then right on his tail as they break and turn into Les Combes this time. The Slovakian driver right on the tail of the Czech. And they in turn are being reeled in by Alberto De Falco. Look there in the black car way up the curb. So De Falco, who's another driver doing the 24 hours, and Alberto De Falco, who's been a Lamborghini front runner for many, many seasons. He was the Pro-Am champion in 2014. Comes then now down the hill, inching up onto the back of Sladecka. So it's a 3-way battle this now for 4th place. Way up the curb, way off the road indeed goes De Falco, but he's back on and hustles down the hill towards Pouan. Through they turn out of that long, fast left-hander to the inside line. Look, Sladecka. So he's caught Knoll, but he's finding life a bit harder to get past. Down they come towards the Piff-Paff once again. This lap 17. And now, of course, Sladecka has got a bit stuck, so he's having to defend as well as attack here. Jakob Knoll still hangs onto the place. They drop towards the right-hander of Campos. Break, turn in, Knoll drift a little bit wide. The quicker of the three undoubtedly is De Falco. Now Sladecka tries to get up on the inside line. There's a gap, and he's got the job done. And here comes De Falco. He's got past one. He's going to try and get past two in one move here because he's got a tighter line. Out wide goes Sladecka. De Falco right on his tail. To the outside line he goes now, heading up towards Blanchimont. Can't do it there. 2 places lost. 2 more places lost for Jakob Knoll. And by the end of the lap, will Alberto De Falco be through up into 4th place? Let's see. All sideways up the curb. Good catch. That was Sladecka. De Falco riding shotgun. Thinks about the inside. Can't do it. Goes to the outside line. Trying to put the pressure on Sladecka into the braking zone. Big slide again by Samuel Sladecka. Is that going to force him out wide? It does a little, but actually Alberto De Falco not able to take advantage of that as they come up towards the line. 7 minutes to go now. Past the pits they come, down into La Source. And there it is, number 9, Alberto De Falco, who turns through the corner, running in 5th. He's only 4 tenths back from Sladecka, and this is where it all started, look, because it's a better run through campus by Sladecka. He went through on the inside line, and Jakob Knoll, with the car clearly with a problem, just not able to fight back. And Alberto De Falco through as well, almost getting up with Sladecka, not quite able so to do. '99 goes through, Robert Svinger. Now he is 9th, class opposition Mikko Escalinen still 7th, and Robert Svinger doing his level best to bring down that gap. 6 more minutes of the race to go. Number 30 is Niels Lagrange in that car that had its incident early on in the race when Vito Postiglione banged up the inside of it. Through they turn. This the run up the Camel Straight, up through Radion. And is Jakob Knoll going to lose another place before the end? Because now, as you look, they're going through the cars of Lagrange and Svinger and Vanderlei. But the gaps are coming down. 99 there is Robert Svinger. Through he goes. Svinger still 9th. Vanderlei actually is class opposition. He's trying to catch Escalinen, yes, but mindful also that Gilles Vanderlei is not that far behind him as they turn through Bruxelles and drop down the hill again. There's not much that Gilles Vanderlei hasn't raced over the years, putting it all to good use here. But whereas Samuel Sladecka is doing a very good job because he's repelled Alberto De Falco for a whole lap pretty much. And if anything, that gap has just widened a touch between them. Into Blanchimont they come. Race lead, 4.6 seconds now. Stuart Middleton still storming clear. Alberto De Falco then way wide at Blanchimont, up the curb and back on again. Closes onto the tail of Sladecka, but not able to make a move up the inside. Over the timing line they will come. What have we got left? Just over 4 minutes, so 2 more laps for the leader, maybe 3 at a pinch. Down towards La Source once more, then charges. Number 9, Alberto De Falco, inching his way into contention, but Samuel Sladecka thus far seems to have an answer, doesn't he, for everything? So through they go, and now the run once again down towards the Eau Rouge sequence. If you're really brave in a Pro-Am category like this, you can do it flat, and then the cars storm up the hill the other side. Closing is De Falco. Is he close enough to make a move? Yes, he goes to the inside line, but then he has to lift and brake and set the car up for the corner, so he can't make a proper bid going into Les Combes on this lap. Tucks back in as now they turn their way out of Les Combes, up towards the completion for the leader, this time of lap 19, but they're only at Bruxelles, and again, getting all toey to the inside there is De Falco trying to force a mistake out of Samuel Sladecka. It's not come yet. Downhill they turn. And now De Falco gets the run, does he? Not quite, because where he wants to be, just as his power kicks in, so does Sladecka, and he extends the advantage again. Wide out of Speaker's Corner is Alberto De Falco. Samuel Sladecka hangs onto the place. Turning their way now down through the left at Pouhon. Turn right, turn left at the pith path. There, Sladecka slides a little bit more, but we've seen him do that before, and he's always able pretty much to regroup. Downhill they come once again. So, De Falco on the back with 2.5 minutes to go, and a lap is a 2:24. The race leader has just gone across the line. He might squeeze 2 more laps out of this. It's going to be close. His last lap was a 2:26, so it's going to be tight. Stuart Middleton might be on his last lap. We'll wait and see. Here is the fight still for 4th place. Samuel Sladecka ahead of Alberto De Falco. Sladecka is wide and scrappy again. Finally, De Falco looks like he's found a gap. He's alongside as they come up towards the timing line. They're going to be absolutely dead set level, but De Falco is on the outside line, down towards turn 1 at La Source. Can he go around the outside? Probably not. Can he brake and get the undercut coming through the corner? Let's see. That seems to be the plan. Out wide will go Sladecka. Down the hill now goes De Falco. And he's got the run as they come past the pits now. Side by side they run, and De Falco goes through, gets the job done, just entering Eau Rouge. So Alberto De Falco goes through, gains the place. He's way up the curb. His team manager has to go to the race director. So does the team manager of Bartosz Pawliecki's car, number 8. Why, we don't know, but that's the summons. As right now, De Falco has other things to concentrate on, and that is defending, because Sladecka wants the place back as they dive into Les Combes here. Alberto De Falco then hangs onto the place. So De Falco, having worked hard to go through, now trying to keep that position. And he should be able to, because we know he's a quick driver. He's more experienced in Lamborghini terms than is the man behind him, Samuel Sladecka. And so now the gap starts to extend once more. Out of Pouhon they turn, down the hill. So De Falco pushing on, trying to build the margin. His next target is Pawliecki, but that's 20 seconds up the road. He's not going to catch. Right, is this the last lap then for Stuart Middleton, or can he squeeze one more out of it? He'd be advised really to back off, because he's got a 6-second cushion. Slow, Stuart. Into the bus stop chicane he comes, up towards the timing line. 6 seconds on the clock. And he's going to go through with one more lap to go. By a couple of seconds, he gets another lap out of the race. So Bonaldi, for my money, should have told him to lift, because he's got such a big margin over Afanasiev. He could have easily lifted off and taken the race win. Now he's got another lap to do. Afanasiev goes through in second spot. Pawliecki for third through the traffic. And the cars now go through La Source once again, with back markers being negotiated. So Pawliecki 9 seconds back from Afanasiev, still doing his level best to charge on, but is he going to be able to get near enough to really make a move? The answer is no, with 1 lap to go. All he can do here is try and hang on to the third place in the race, and as far as the championship is concerned, Afanasiev for second place will take over with Danny Cruz the championship lead here. The leaders power uphill. De Falco goes through, wide up the curb. Behind him goes Samuel Sladecka. The leading AM remains Mikko Escalanen. The leading Pro-Am is the Falchero and Abkhazova car, which has done its drive-through now and kept the class lead over Andrei Lewandowski. And then in the Lamborghini Cup, where do you go to? It is Benoit Semoulin, who is now the category leader there. So there is the race leader. Stuart Middleton comes down towards the piff-paff. Win number 2 for Bonaldi beckons. He's on the limit, as you can see. Slides the car through the right, powers it out of the left-hander now, and accelerates on towards the right-hander of Campus. Through they swing, and now on the power once again, up towards the exit of Blanchimont. But Middleton, through traffic he will come. Didn't really need to do this lap in a sense, but brings the car to the end. Danny Cruz has done the fastest lap from that first stint of the race. But as far as the winner is concerned, it's going to be the Bonaldi Motorsport car. Stuart Middleton taking over from Jack Bartholomew. There's a wobble as he goes wide over the curbs, and now towards the chicane. So Stuart Middleton, even though he's got this big lead, still pressing hard. Scrabbles a little perhaps into the bus stop, but he gets it slowed down in time to turn in. Now up towards the line, and this time up towards the checkered flag. Stuart Middleton it will be who will take the race win as he comes across the timing line now to win the first race of the weekend at Spa for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. Second across the line there is Sergei Afanasiev and Danny Cruz, and for third place in the background Bartosz Pawliecki and Karol Bash. Fourth will be Alberto De Falco along with Davide Venditti, and for fifth place Samuel and Filip Sladecka with Jakob Noll and Josef Zaruba. Sixth with a problem, that car falling away as the race wore on. So there is Jack Bartholomew in the background, a happy man. Part of his management team, Alf Borer there, himself a former racer. Congratulates the Penalty team. And a job well done there. So for Stuart Middleton and Jack Bartholomew, a second victory of the season. They won the opening race at Silverstone. There, going over the line, is Jakob Knoll. So big dramas. He, don't forget, led out of the pits and ends up nearly a minute behind, 56 seconds off the race leader. Something not right there, that's for sure. So the rest of the field comes through. Good win by Mikko Eskelinen and Jake Rattenbury, that within the AM Cup. And there is Sergei Afanasiev getting out of the car. New championship leader, along with that man, Danny Cruz, who walks over to embrace his teammate. So, very happy team. That car, another of the Bonaldi squad, so it's a 1-2 for the Bonaldi team. And there. Very happy drivers.
He stopped near the light, and then he was on the limiter on pit out, and I cannot pass the white line.
So there, Sergei Afanasiev just talking about the end of the pit stops and what went on. But in the end, they end up 9.7 seconds back from Stuart Middleton. So we know Stuart's quick, but we also know that Sergei is fast. So it's a bit of a surprise it was such a big gap, but perhaps that underlines just how well Stuart Middleton has adapted to these cars. Jack Bartholomew didn't really run in that leading gaggle. He was a bit distant in fourth place in the first stint, but it's come good in the end.
He went back to England.
Lamborghini Trofeo, avec Middleton, Afanasiev et Paziewski qui sont les 3 premiers au classement général.
So the drivers there, and let's see if we can grab a word with some of the drivers. Let's hear from our second place drivers first of all.
Guys, congratulations, second place. Not so bad. You had the fastest lap of the race, do you know that?
No, actually he had the fastest lap of the race, but I had a lot of fun because there was a guy from the back who started early on the pit lane who stopped us, and that's why we're P2. Otherwise, easy run.
Easy run, Danny.
Yeah, I think if we didn't have the problem with the pit stop, with the guy stopping us, then for sure we would have won the race. So yeah, it's really shit.
Tomorrow,
Excuse the language.
let's make it wet tomorrow and we'll see.
We'll see you tomorrow. Let's see you guys tomorrow. Good job today.
So there, the frustration evident as to the dramas that befell Danny Cruz and Sergei Afanasiev in that race, but they will fight on tomorrow. Let's see how things fare in the second race of the weekend. There, confirmation of the results. That win for Jack Bartholomew and Stuart Middleton, the winning margin in the end, 9 seconds. And now we're hearing more about what happened in the pits. It perhaps makes a bit more sense as to why it was such a big gap. There in second spot, Danny Cruz and Sergei Afanasiev from Karol Bash and Bartosz Paziewski. Fourth going to Davide Venditti and Alberto De Falco from the Sladeckas, fifth. And then the troubled Zaruba and Jakob Knoll car in sixth. In the classes, Mikko Eskelinen and Jake Rattenbury win in AM, Pro-Am, Julien Falchreau and Shota Abkhazova, and the winning Lamborghini Cup entry, Benoit and Francois Semola. Let's go back to the pits and join Dakota.
Jack, congratulations, a fantastic pit stop. 1.28.4 seconds, the fastest pit stop of this race so far. 6 seconds between your gap finish. Amazing race for you guys.
Yeah, really good. We always knew that this weekend, generally the first session was a little bit faster, so if I could just hold my position and stay with the guys, look after the tyres, nothing silly. We knew if we timed the pit stop at the right time, good in lap, good out lap, we could jump them. Stuart did all 3 moves in one straight, which was absolutely brilliant, and then he just got on with the job and put in some consistent laps and was fastest on track.
Same tomorrow?
Yeah, let's go again.
Let's go for it. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
So Jack Bartholomew, a happy man, and he will celebrate his victory with Stuart Middleton, a second of the season. So the cars in the Parc Ferme area, drivers shortly will be whisked up to the podium. We may not necessarily see that, but congratulations to the top 3 and a great win number 2 of the year for Stuart Middleton and Jack Bartholomew here in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. That now means that as far as the championship is concerned, Sergei Afanasiev and also Danny Cruz now take over the championship lead. Stuart Middleton and Jack Bartholomew second. Third become Karol Bash and Bartosz Pawliecki. And really disappointing for Vito Postiglione because he and Kiko Galbiati now drop back into fourth in the standing. So really bad day at the office for the drivers that came here as the championship leaders, that no score. Then you see lower down how we look in the overall standings, but a very pivotal race, that the way that the top four in the championship really has shuffled around. And it's going to be an intriguing race tomorrow, and indeed second part of the season, with races to come at the Nürburgring and of course Jerez, where we go for the World Finals still to come. Another race for the Super Trofeo Europe cars tomorrow, and that will get underway at 11:55 here at Spa. It's 2:15 here at Spa right now, if you want to set your watches accordingly. But race 2 of the weekend should also be full of drama, and we'll look forward to that tomorrow here as part of the build-up to the Total 24 Hours of Spa. Let's have a quick look then at some of the highlights of that race, which all began with this busy grid ready to go. And as the lights changed, it was a poor start from the poleman, Vito Postiglione, who fell right back in the pack on the run down towards the hairpin at La Source. Worse was to come when he banged into the side going through La Source of the car of Anthony Lambert, and all of that meant Karol Bash was the race leader trying to build the advantage. But inevitably, the pit stops were going to be vital, and it was on the exit that the car of Afanasiev was delayed. Around the outside at Les Cons went Stuart Middleton, having taken over from Jack Bartholomew. He grabbed the race lead, a lead he was never to lose. And then, with Afanasiev a little bit stuck, he tried to get through the traffic, but then the gap widened anyway. So although they were saying that were it not for dramas in the pits they'd have won easy, there was no way they were making up 9 seconds. Great win by Jack Bartholomew and Stuart Middleton in race 1 of Lamborghini Super Trofeo here at Spa. So race 2 tomorrow morning. Is it going to be a double for the 2 British drivers? Join us at 5 minutes to 12 to find out. For now, from David Addison at Spa, goodbye.